Good night, everyone. Tonight, God is good. God is good all the time. My name is Sermon J.S. Fraser. I'm here to give you a word on tonight. Now, you know when God gives you an inheritance or either a blessing, you got to go into war to get it. So we're going to be talking about Joshua installed as leader after Moses' death. And then next we're going to talk about when they're going to have to go into war, to possess their land, and then God going to be in the detail. So first we're going to talk about Joshua installed as leader to guide the Israelites to possess their land. That story going to come from Joshua chapter 1 through 11. So now after Moses' death, Joshua was one of the spies early on. He came back with a good report. So God has saw the work and the faith and the courage that Joshua had. When all the rest of them had went to spy out, they came with a bad report. Had the Israelites all scared. All scared everything. Talking about that we look like grasshoppers. So now after Moses' death, it is God who chose Joshua. God chose Joshua to lead the Israelites. He said, get ready to cross the Jordan River, into the land that I am about to give them, the Israelites. So God also will give Joshua, every place where he set his foot as I promised Moses. So whatever God had promised Moses, he passing it on to Joshua. So God also was encouraged Joshua, and said, no one will be able to stand against you, all the days of your life. As I was with Moses, he said, I'm going to be with you. As I was with Moses, he said, I will be with you. He said, I will never leave you nor forsake you. God was with Moses. Even when he had messed up, God was still was with him. But he wasn't able to enter the promised land. With the hitting the rock and stuff. But other than that, traveling and having to fight against war, God was with Moses. So now after Moses' death, Joshua had got a promotion, from God. Joshua, God had saw how he was working. And that's how it is, all our promotion really come from God. You remember Joseph? They pulled Joseph out of jail to interpret this king dream. God placed that dream in him because remember when Joseph was 17 years old, God had promised him he was gonna be in charge. So it was time for him to be in charge, and God put that dream in his king, and knowing nobody but Joshua was able to interpret that dream. So Joshua gonna have to lead, by 2 million people, 2 million Israelites. That was the law that Moses had to do. So into a strange new land, and conquer it. Conquer it, and Joshua have a big challenge on his hand. That no matter how tough, the situation is, difficult it is, God promised he will never abandon us or fail us. And see, that's what he had told Joshua. He said, I will never leave you nor forsake you. He said, just like I was with Moses, he said, I'm going to be with you. So God willing to be with him and guide him through it. And he will. God will guide him through it. So he said to God, telling him, be strong, encouraged, because you will lead these people. And remember, he said, no one will be able to stand against you all the days of your life. So he said, you will lead these people to inherit the land that I swore to their ancestors to give them. So God had promised to deliver the Israel from Egypt and give them a land of their own. And that's exactly what he did. God stood on his promise. Once they entered their land, they had entered on history. and God's plan was complete. So God had given Joshua strength, and courage. You are going to lead these people to inherit the land that I promised them to their ancestors. So God had chose Joshua. God chose Joshua. God gave Joshua a promotion, to lead his people into their land. Joshua have a big job on his hand. He got 2 million people, 2 million Israelites that he have to lead to their promised land. That he got to lead to their promised land. So that's all the story I have on that. This is the beginning of Joshua, have to lead the Israelites to their promised land. So now we're going to talk about going into war to possess your land. But God is in the detail. Now they're going to come from Deuteronomy chapter 20, verse 1 through 20. Now this story is about the Israelites. It's about to take possession, of their land. The would be an inheritance from God. A land with milk and honey. When they possess their land, God, while they're possessing their land, God gonna be in the detail. God's plan will be complete. Once they enter their land, God's plan is complete. And they own it, not just into their land, they have a whole land. The Canaanite is big, and God's still gonna be with them until they get into all their land of Canaanite. So the Israelite will be history. So before they go into war, God will be in the detail what's not to destroy. So sometimes, whenever, God give you inheritance, if God got a blessing, if God got a purpose for your life, if God got a promised land for your life, God not gonna sit it on your lap. We see this Israelite. He's not gonna sit it on your lap. You got to go into war and you got to fight to get it. The Israelites got to fight to get their land that God promised to them. God not putting it on our lap. God not putting it on my lap. I'm also in war. I'm also fighting to get what I need to get to. For the Israelite, now this is something God promised. But he's still not placing it on their lap. Now we see they still have to go to war. They got to go into war to fight what belongs to them. And not one land. They got a whole land that they have to fight. They got to fight their way through to get the land that God promised to them. So sometimes, whenever God gives you an inheritance or blessing, we have to fight to get it, to receive it. Meaning you will have to go into war, to receive it, just like the Israelites. So when you go into war against your enemy and see horses and carriages and army greater than yours, and see that's how the Israelites, they got scared because the first spy of people had went and gonna tell me, oh, they're so big, they're so huge, but God saying, don't be afraid. They see their horses, they see everything greater than what they have. But that don't mean nothing. They got a mighty God on their side. He tell them, don't worry about that. Don't worry about how tall the people is. Don't worry about how tall the gate is. They're talking about they look like grasshopper under them. It's greater than this. But do not be afraid of them, because the Lord your God who brought you out of Egypt, will be with you. Now God brought them out of Egypt. And they saw all the powers that God was doing. So they don't need to be scared. So now the Israelite is about to possess their land. But see, the army of the enemy, way larger, than them. Now they're talking about the army. They're talking about the enemy got a large army. And every time, you go into war, every time you connected with God, you always gonna have a whole army around you, and sometimes it's just gonna be you have to fight and go into war. And so the Israelites seen they have a great army, and they got 2 million. So if they got 2 million, they're talking about they have more than 2 million. Because they say their army is larger than theirs. you know. But this sort of power, this sort of power of God. See, God brought them out of Egypt. And God didn't just brought them out of Egypt. God showed power, miracles, and everything else up in there. That they witnessed, that they saw with their own eyes. So they say, so God saw, and they saw, and so God has said, don't be afraid. I am God who will be with you. Just like the Israelite, sometimes we may have to face overwhelming different situations, and we may, feel outnumbered. We may feel like outnumbered. They feel like outnumbered. And they got a great army, their own self. They got 2 million. For them to have 2 million and afraid of a large army of someone else, they must have had 3-4 million army. So they felt the outnumbered. And sometimes we might feel like that. But if you got God on your side, I feel that all the time, but that just be in my mind, and I have to block that out, because when you got God on your side and you got a whole army, because you can always have a whole army against you, but all you need is that one person. That one person is God. To be by your side, help you fight that battle. That's why he kept on telling them, don't be afraid. I'm not going to leave you or forsake you. And that's all they're worrying about, how big their army is. You don't have to worry about how big your army is. I'm by myself. I'm by myself with God right there. I don't have an army around me. But I have a whole army against me. But God built up the Israelite. The confidence, by reminding them that he always was with them. When he pulled them out of Egypt, he was with them, and that he will save them from danger, they will face again. So when you're about to go into battle, the priest should come forward and address the army. So this is what they're talking about, the priest. So when the battle is about to begin, let the priest come forward and speak to the truth. And see, that's what the priests have to do. When they're about to go into war. So he should say, "Hear Israel, today you are going into battle, against your enemy." He said, "Do not be faint-hearted or afraid. Do not panic or be terrified." And see, they got to keep telling them. Because the Israelites, they keep on worrying about how big they are, how many armies they have, and so that's what they got to keep on saying. Don't be afraid, don't worry about the army they have. Don't worry about how tall they is, because sometimes you're going to be by yourself. Job was by himself, and everything was tumbling down and coming against him. We always going to feel like that. We always going to feel overwhelmed. We always going to feel like we outnumbered, but you got to keep on going, keep on standing, and we have to realize, the Israelites, they should already know. God showed power with them. They saw with their own eyes, and we just have to remember. I'm talking to myself too, I don't be scared, but we have to remember we're not in a fight by ourselves. That's why God has said, I'm going to be with you. And then the last time he pulled them out of Egypt, God said, I'm going before you. And a lot of times we be trying to go before God, but God always said, I'm going before you. I just need you to step back. So we do not lose heart or panic or tremble before them. In a few minutes, you're going to go into battle. So just get ready. Just get ready. When you close to God, you constantly keep on praying, and God got something for you to walk into, just be prepared. Just be ready to go into war. I've been going into war ever since, I'm dealing with a whole army, and it's just me, but you have to keep on going, Keep on going. As long as you got God right there to help you fight that battle, stand firm. You know, stand firm and don't quit. Don't buy down. But you got to keep on fighting. You got to fight, you know, what God have for you. He's not going to place it on your lap. We see that with the Israelite. He said, I got a land for you. But everybody living in all the parts of the city. That's a land for you. But what you got to do, you got to drive everybody out that land for you to possess that land. I got this for you, but you got to work hard and you got to fight to get it. And so that's what we have to do. We got to fight. We got to go into war. We got to fight to get what God inherits to us. He told the Israelite, I promise you a land. But guess what? Someone's staying in the land. So that means you got to go into war. You got to fight. You got to drive everyone out of that land to possess that land. So for the Lord, the God, is the one who goes with you to fight for you against your enemies to give you victory. And see, we really not supposed to get victory. God supposed to get all the victory, the glory. We just got to fight for what's ours. And just like I put out the other day, with those 3 guys, they were standing up for God. And see, when we in battle, we in war, we fighting for God. And really God's supposed to give victory. But God said, I'm going to give you victory. God supposed to give victory and glory. But he said, I'm going to give y'all victory. He said, I'm going to help y'all. See, God's going to help us, but he want us to help ourselves also. He want us to get started. But he said, I promise this to you. But people living in the land, so you got to fight to get it. So we not to fear or panic, because God is with us and fight for us and fight against our enemy and give us victory. Now the officer should say to the army, has anyone built a new house? And now see, they getting their men together. They getting their men together. So now they're going about the officer. The officer said to the army, has anyone built a new house and not yet begin to live in it? So let them go home. So what they're doing is they're trying to find the officer, the army, who gonna be focused on this battle. They don't want someone that just bought a house, he memorized, he thinking about this new house. Someone just got married, he thinking about what his wife doing. They're trying to pick the one that who gonna be focused on that battle. So he had to go home. He just built the house. Or if he may die, if he still going to battle, they're saying he will die because he will not be focused. So someone else may begin to live in it. So if he go to war and he dies, somebody gonna live in the new house that he just built. Because he will not be focused. He will not be focused. And that's how he will not make it. So if he will fight in a battle, he will be killed because he built a house and never live in a house, but someone else will live in a house and he never will have a chance to enjoy the house. So they had to send him home. So they had to send him home, and someone else had got married, and think he gonna go in the battle. They had to send him home. Has anyone planted a vineyard and not begin to enjoy it, let him go home. Because he will die in the battle and will not be able to enjoy his vineyard, and someone else will enjoy it. So if they have all these activities going on, that's what they're gonna be thinking about. And they won't be focused on the war. We need somebody to focus, because see, they need to win. They need to win. They need to drive everyone out of their land to get victory. That's the only way they can inherit their land, is they got to fight their way through it. And so when you on your journey, you're fighting through your journey. You remember the Israelites got out of Egypt. They had to fight at certain points they had to go to. They had to fight the Ammonites that was their cousin. Then they go here, to have to fight someone else. So you pretty much have to fight your way through to get your blessing. You got to fight your way through to get your inheritance. It's not gonna lay on your lap. He's not gonna throw it on your lap. They thought God give them a land, and when they get there, they thought it was gonna be empty. Everyone lived in every part of the land, and they had to fight their way through, and it took them years. It took them years to fight everybody to get out the land. And longer they had to keep fighting to get their land. Joshua had to be with them. But see, God had told him, once they enter the land, you can just pause, I give you a piece of land, then you can just go home, your job is done. But longer he had to stay with them till they conquer every part of the land, of the city, of the nation. You know, so so we see we see like they getting men together. They getting men together, for what? Men who gonna be focused and gonna be paying attention, because if they're not focused, they focus on their wife, the new house and all this kind of stuff, they will get killed, they say, because they're not paying attention. So if you have women, at home, they send them home. So you just got married, to send them home. Any activity going on, they had to go home. If you faint hearted, go home. If you got fear in you, go home. They need real men that have strong faith, focus on this walk. If you got a little fear in you, you faint heart, go home. Go home. They have finished. So after they had finished speaking to them, letting them know this how we picking our men, to the army, they should appoint a commander over it. So now they picking their people. They got 2 millions of the Israelites, and a lot of them had to go home. So they're trying to find strong men, to go to war. And if they have issues, they had to go home because they had to be focused. So when you march up to attack a city, make it like, people a peace off. And see, that's how God is. God said we're not gonna just bum rush. We're not gonna just bum rush the land. I need you to do a peace offering. I need you to talk to them. I need you to have a peace meeting with them, a peace meeting with them. If they agree to open the gates for us, okay, we're gonna go. We're gonna go into war. And they will not, work for us. But if they don't agree, they're gonna have forced labor. Forced labor means that they're gonna have to work for the Israelites. And you're gonna see one part of the land. Some people, God told them to drive everyone out, but they still gonna have some people in there and giving them forced labor. So they're about to attack a city, but God wants to go, wants to ask them about a peacemaker. Want the peacemaker first. And they don't. They're gonna burn rush through the gates. So the city will open its gate, and the inhabited would be put under forced labor if the city does not make offer peace. So with you, but make war against them, and then they should receive it. And if they accept, and open their gates, all the people, subsisting to forced labor and should work for you. If they don't open the gates for them, that's a peace offering. See, God wants to go at peace. If they don't open the gates for them, then they're going to have to work and do hard labor for the Israelites. So if they refuse to make a peace and they engage you in battle, lay siege to that city. So when you march up to attack a city, make its people offer peace, and they accept and open their gate. All the people in it should be subject to forced labor and should work for you. And if they refuse, to make a peace, and they engage in a battle and cease, to that city. So when the Lord your God deliver it into your hands, put it to the sword, all the men in it. And see, God said, put all of them out. Put all of them to that. Put them all to that, because if you leave one person in, they're gonna come against them. And see, that's how a lot of times, because see, that's what Israelites gonna do. God command you to take everyone out. And they're gonna refuse to take everyone out, and then they're gonna turn around, and give and oppress them. And that's why God said they ain't even gonna own the land and to allow people to be over them, and people supposed to be under them. And that's why God said put all of them out to protect them. So God has said put the sword, to own it, all the destruction, to entire population, sinner. Now he did this because they will turn against and oppress them. A lot of time, they're supposed to be the Israelite land. A lot of time they have kings and everybody else just come on the land and just take over the Israelite and just oppress them. So oppress them and turn them away from God. So that's why I say God don't want them to turn away from Him. They are God people. So as for the women, the children, the lifestyle, everything else that in the city, you may take these to plunder to yourself, and you may use it, but the Lord, the God, give you from your enemy. So what God is saying. God is saying, enjoy all the wealth, and the riches that He giving you, the estate that He giving you, and the possession, for this is not to be restrained, to things and eatable only. So this is how you are to treat all the cities. They got so much city in the Canaanite that you are at a distance from you and do not belong to the nation nearby. So war. You're going into war. However, in the city of the nation, the Lord your God is giving you as an inheritance. Do not leave alive anything that breathes. Now God said, don't leave no one alive. No one. He said, everyone have to get out of this land in order for them to own the land. Because if they let people stay on the land, they're gonna run them. They're gonna be over the Israelites. And God wants them to be in charge, because God giving that land to them, not to nobody else. So what